Hey everyone, welcome back to my cozy corner. My name is Jen and just a regular old college student at Cal State Dominguez. But if you're not new here, welcome back to the chaos. So it is now February 5th. However, we're gonna talk about my January TBR wrap up, see how we did this month, what we read, what we liked, what we didn't like, type things like that. So first off, we're going to talk about Five Broken Blades by Corland. This book is essentially about 6 people who are going on a quest to essentially defeat the king. We have a way to defeat him now because officially he's like known as the God King, which means he wears this crown that keeps him from being killed. And these 6 people, one person at least, or a few people that are in the know, pretty much have a way to kill him off. And so the entire goal is, how many pages of this? Like 600, I think, or 500. Yeah, about almost 500 pages is to go on this journey to kill the king. And at the end, there's like a solid little plot twist. And now everyone's like, what the heck? So we did fail. But the king is like, you're not done yet. Your whole thing that you meant to come here and kill me, that was cute. But actually, I am the God King, as the God King entails. I'm unkillable. But that was a test. You guys passed, kind of ish. You didn't kill me, obviously. But anyways, the goal for you now is you have like a month. I forget how long specifically, but they have a very short amount of time to kill the actual target that the king wants people to kill. And I think that's the queen from another continent or something like that. So that will carry on. That story will carry on into the Four Ruined Realms book, which I do plan on reading this month. Stay tuned for the little February TBR. I'm super excited. I do have a few books this month that I do want to read for that. But to be honest, it's been crazy with school, so we'll see how much we actually get done. You know what I'm saying? But that is for Five Broken Blades. I did rank this one like a 4.5. I did rate it a 5-star on Goodreads, but as you guys know, you can't rate things as a point. You have to be exact. So I put this 5-star. I really liked this book. Everyone had kind of their own secrets, their own stories to tell, their own reasons for doing these things, and their own betrayals and stuff like that. So I really liked it because it was all every character was their own narrator, and as you guys know, traitorous and thievery and essentially morally gray characters are not going to make the best narrator, if that makes sense. But yeah, that is Five Broken Blades by Corland. Love this book, cannot wait to read the next one. But that all being said, let's talk about Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I really liked this book, but it read really YA. It's probably a YA book, but I'm kind of lazy to check it up right now. But as I'm recording this, as I'm editing this later, I'll put whether it's YA or not. But this essentially is historical fantasy, historical fiction, where essentially in one of the world wars, it's kind of giving World War II vibes ish, because it's we have higher technology, I believe we have cell phones and things like that, but we're still using typewriters and letters and things. But essentially 2 people who are rivals work at a publishing company, or not a publishing company, but a journalism company, and they're trying to compete for the top spot to get their pretty much get a raise, get more popularity and things like that. One person comes from some posh high society-esque family, and the other person is very poor. You know, she's living paycheck to paycheck, if that. Her mom's an alcoholic. It's a whole thing, and she's having a hard time. Her brother just left for the war. She's dealing with that. She hasn't seen him in a while. She hasn't heard from him. She doesn't know where he's at, so she's going through her own stuff. But essentially these 2 people somehow, some way, we will talk about it in the book, but there's no spoilers on this episode or on this video, whatever you want to call it. But essentially these 2 people somehow end up joining the war as what's called correspondents, which they're supposed to be totally neutral. They're not allowed to fight. Obviously they don't really know how to fight. They're writers, they're not fighters. But they're supposed to write about what happens and write their point of view and their story, and try and get people to really care about the people that are fighting for the war. You know, there's 2 gods that are fighting against each other. They're trying to kill each other, and there's 2 sides and 2 different people that are fighting each other, and so it's a whole thing. They're trying to get more support for whatever side that they're on. But at the very end, something happens, and her brother does come. The female protagonist does come back. Her brother comes back from the war, but he doesn't come back the same, if that makes sense. So something happens and she's in trouble, and her brother ends up swooping her up essentially and taking her to safety. But her partner, her rival, essentially had gotten lost in the smoke, and her brother was like, no, we're not going to go back for him, there's no time, he's already lost, he's going to die, whatever. And so there's no chance for him. But in the second book, we actually pick up off literally right where we left off. I believe it's like maybe not even a couple months later. I believe there is a small gap, but I forget how long it is. But I believe we start from the male protagonist POV, where he's like essentially healed now. He's gone through, like, he's got amnesia, he doesn't know who he is, and the I'm gonna just call him the Dark Lord, but like the Dark Lord is like, I saved you and you're safe now, but you're gonna work for me, and I want you to write for me because you're still a correspondent in this war, but now you're just on my side, you're not on the other people's side. So he doesn't remember who he is, he doesn't know who she is, and I'm so sorry, this is like really important, but these two people end up getting tied together by a magical typewriter. Their grandparents had these magical typewriters that they would be able to send messages to each other, send letters to each other. It was super cute. And somehow, by fate, I guess, like these two people ended up like essentially like meeting up, and not meeting up, but like forming a relationship over these typewriters. And the guy ends up knowing that it's her immediately, but she's like, who is this person? He's super mysterious, I like him, whatever. And then later on she finds out that that's her rival. But now that we're caught up, it's her turn to like essentially send these letters to him and be like, hey, guess who I am, blah blah blah. And then once he finds out who she is, he's like, hey, I'm so glad that, you know, you did this for me, and blah blah blah. But pretty much moral of the story is they kill the Dark Lord, that he dies, he like, you know, everything works out in the end. It's super cool. I really liked this because it went from like historical fantasy to like, I don't know, we went to the underworld, we went to hell, and so we finished everything off there as like the final battle, and I really thought it was cool. Like we had a whole group of us as in people, the characters in the book, like had a whole group of people that were trying to like stop this guy, and they ended up killing him off, and like, you know, happy ending, blah blah blah. But it was just like a cute little historical fiction romance. It was not my favorite, but like I give the whole series a 5-star, probably like 4.5 star per book if you say. I don't know, I can't say which one I like better. I liked this as a whole, as a series as a whole. It is a duology, so I can't say, like, it's easier to say I don't know what my favorite book is because it's duology, there's only 2 books. But that all being said, now we have the Souls trilogy, and guys, okay, look, listen, hear me out. While I gave this series like a 4.5 stars overall, oh gosh, this flusters me because it's essentially, each book is the same story. We are, you know, we're high school students, we're college students, we're blah 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 blah. We're part of some cult where it's from a different point of view, and everybody gets paired up with their own little like sexy demon and whatever. And we have like glorious and fantastical, hard, rough, like insert every kink in the book here, and then we just have sex, and it's just, guys, I'm sorry, it's so hard to describe this book. Essentially, the first book, this girl, what is her name, Ray and Leon, they get partnered up, and Ray is like some college student who came back to like this small town to go to college because her family is like, I believe, somewhere in this like the South Americas, but she came here to come home and go to college and get her degree and just feel like super nostalgic. And she ends up meeting this on her first day of school, guys. She ends up going to school, sees some caution tape. This girl has no sense of survivability. She has no sense of self-preservation. This whole time she's going into danger, la-di-da-di-da, jumping rope, skipping, la-da-da, just no sense of like self-importance, I guess. But she ends up going on her first day, sees this crime scene tape, and by the way, she's like a video vlogger for paranormal crap or something, and so she's like, oh, let me get some material for my upcoming video or some crap. But she ends up seeing caution tape, and so she goes up there, and Leon, who's playing as a security guard, is guarding this thing, and he's like, hey, what are you doing here? And she's like, I don't know. What are you doing here? And it's so stupid, guys. We're not even 30 pages into the book, and there's already a scene where she goes home and is thinking about this guy to the max, seeing how sexy he is. It's very graphic. If you're a child, if you're anything under the age of 18, I do not recommend this book. This is definitely adult. I've never read the 50 Shades of Grey series, but holy shit, it's worse than I ever thought. Like, there was some things in this entire series that just, what the heck. But essentially, the whole point is to kill this god that is worshipped by a cult, and then she doesn't try to get sacrificed. People try to sacrifice her to the god, and then, you know, she ends up selling her soul to her devil Leon, and they have like magical, glorious demon sex, and that's just the whole book. It's just a lot of sex. But essentially, they have their happy ending. They're cool. Like, she's now gonna be bound for hell, but hell isn't like some freaking, I don't know, it's not like the typical sense of hell, like we're not going to be tortured for the rest of our existence. It's actually a pretty cool place. It's essentially heaven, but like for demons. So we learn that later. But the next book is essentially just, it's the same story, guys. We know how it ends, but we're following a different character's point of view, and that character gets her own demon, and they have their own version of hot typical sex of whatever demons have sex about. Guys, oh goodness, I'm sorry, this is just like, it's I could go on a fucking rant about this for days. I'm not really one to read smut. I would rather have watched porn, to be quite honest, because why? Like, every single chapter is like some hot, steamy sex, and there's no plot. The plot is 6 feet underground. It's in the underworld. But essentially, that all being said, we're following, what is her name? We're following Juniper. Juniper is like the OG sacrifice. She ended up escaping and blah, blah, blah. She meets her own guy, Zane, and they partner up, and they like kill the god. They have their own plot in like killing the god or whatever the heck, and then that's just the end of the book. They go to hell though, and they have like a good time. But, well, no, they don't go to hell. They go to like some fucking on-earth hell-ish rave. Anyway, they have a great time. The last book, oh my god, this, I'm in Barnes and Nobles on the freaking, in the pre-release event for Onyx Storm, and I'm reading this. Guys, there's a scene. Well, there's a few scenes, but like there's a scene that just plays in my mind over and over again. I like dominance. I'm not gonna spread my business on the channel. I'm definitely a BDSM girly in the bedroom, but like, why? Okay, and essentially this girl who's like supposed to be super innocent, super fluffy, never had sex before in her life, very virgin-esque, whatever. Obviously she's being tainted by this demon and whatever the heck else, but like, she's, oh, can I even freaking say this on YouTube, or am I gonna get demonetized? Okay, I'm gonna try to freaking show an innuendo here. She takes a toy, and essentially, instead of, you know, girl getting screwed by like a guy, she's like, and does that make sense? Yeah. So I couldn't take it seriously. I really laughed out loud when I tell you, I was flabbergasted. I was like, ain't no way I just read this crap. But anyways, that all being said, this is from, what is her name? This is from Everly's point of view. She meets her own guy. His name is Callum. He's like the bestest of the bestest demons. He's an arc demon, because of course he is. And she ends up like we finally finish the story, guys. She kills the god at the very end of this book. And it was so anticlimactic, you guys. It was literally, I feel like Harley or Laroux, like, as much as I enjoyed the smut in these books, I feel like she should have just stayed on Wattpad, to be quite honest. I enjoyed the book. Don't get me wrong, they had their quirks, but like, I could have, this was brain rot, pure brain rot, pure brain rot. But anyways, that all being said, let's talk about the real show of this. By the way, if you haven't got that already, gave this whole series a 4.5, but each book was probably like 3 stars and below, or whatever the fuck else. But now we're going to talk about Onyx Storm. As you guys know from my last video, which was about my little, like, you know, my birthday was this past month, and so I went to this pre-release event, got a bunch of books, and I also got this, because blah, 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 blah. This is what I was waiting for the entire time. Okay, I'm still on the rocks about this book, just because I liked it, don't get me wrong, but I felt stupid half the time. Up until like page 250, 300, I felt so dumb, because I was like, who are all these people that got integrated into this book? Who are all these people, or what are all these things that are happening? Like, I'm so confused this entire time. But that being said, I really just need to like reread the last 2 books, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I'm gonna just like probably go over it on an audiobook and just listen to it while I do daily minuscule tasks, and just like, you know, finish this off just so I understand it a little bit more. I feel like I really should have done that, which is funny because I finished Fourth Wing and Iron Flame literally 2 months ago. I finished that crap in December, and I was chilling and really, really excited for this book to come out, and like now I'm just super confused. But essentially, what happens in this book? Oh my god. So everybody is all like so, everybody's ready to kill the venom. They all know what's going on. The Griffins and the Dragon people are like back at Basquiat Academy. They're all trying to get along because, you know, Griffins and Dragon Riders don't get along, blah, blah, blah. They're all trying to integrate into a happy society of learning and stuff like that to kill these venom at the end of the day. The venom is taking over. Like, they have this big old map, and it seems like every single day this spread of red essentially like is spreading across their map, and it's getting like closer and closer to where they're at. It's no longer safe, blah, blah, blah. Xaden is like slowly turning fully venom, and then he's really trying not to use his venom powers because that's not good, and he could lose his girl, and he could hurt her, and he could hurt Violet, whatever. At the end of this book, it's kind of weird because Xaden's going through his whole thing. We're dealing with Andarna's not separation anxiety, but we're trying to find her family so she doesn't feel like a sense of abandonment. Like she needs to find a reason to live, and this is now just the reason of the week to live. But essentially, we go through a bunch of different islands, a bunch of different trials. Only 2 people in this entire book die, and it didn't really like do anything for me. I didn't cry. I was just like, oh damn, that sucks, but whatever, move on. She finds her family. She ends up leaving Violet, which we're surprised Violet didn't die, but of course she didn't die. She's the main character, but and Darna ends up leaving Violet because why not? And she goes to get learned about her own culture and her own family. She goes off with her own version of her own dragon tribe, I guess, to learn about whatever and try and help, like, you know, the venom to be killed off and stuff like that. But through all of that, Xaden and Violet and their own dragons are like locked in combat trying to keep Aricia alive, and some stuff happens at the end of the book which is really confusing because, guys, the last 2 pages were really confusing because it just ended. Not even like a super like climactic like hardcore ending where you were just on the edge of your feet. It literally just stopped in the middle of a scene and you're just like, wait, what? Pretty much Violet all of a sudden has a sense of amnesia of, like, apparently she's married now, and she's just like, what the heck? How long was I missing for? Because this whole scene happened, and people went missing, and some people died, and blah, 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 blah. Venom were involved, and then the dragons were involved, and now Xaden's gone too, and a bunch of people were missing, and yada, yada, yada. But Violet was essentially gone for, like, 12 hours, and she doesn't remember what happened, and Imogen, who we learn in this book, who has, powers that can, like, essentially like erase memories, Violet looks at Imogen and she's like, what did you do? And Imogen's like, what did you tell me to? And then she reads a letter from Xaden who basically says, like, don't look for me. If you're gonna look for me, know that you're gonna have to kill me or something like that. But essentially she's married now, and she looks at her and, like, Imogen is like, I did what you said to do. I don't know. And we're just like, the readers are like, what the? I'm not really one for the amnesia trope, especially if I'm not the one that knows what happened, but it's so far out of 4 to a 4.25. I don't know. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. It was cute. There was a lot of steamy scenes, but it was just, I was confused half the time because there was a lot of politics that just didn't make sense, that at least I wasn't informed in the previous books. So I was like, why is this a rule, and when did we learn about this, and why is this all of a sudden important? And then all the first years, from what I had to, like, listen to somebody else tell me this, but essentially all the first years that are in Iron Flame, that Violet is like, I don't want to learn their names because they're probably gonna die before Threshing or before the Gauntlet or whatever. We never learned their names because Violet didn't want to tell us their names, and now all of a sudden they're thrusted in our faces and we're like, who are you? What are all these names and why are they important? But anyways, yeah, that's a small rant over. It was a solid month. I went back to school. Oh, not like I took a break off, but like winter break ended. We started the semester again. I only have 2 semesters left, so that's pretty cool. A lot of stuff happened, but also a lot of stuff didn't happen. It's just whatever. But I'm a quick little tidbit for those of you who are still here at the end. I'm off my antidepressants, and I've just been learning how to feel again. It's funny because, like, I didn't get off of them on purpose. I like, from New Year's up until like the 15th or whatever, I just happened to go out drinking a lot with my friends and have kickbacks and stuff like that. Not like super, like, not in a depressing way, not in a negative way. Like, I was doing everything cool. Like, there wasn't any, like, I don't know, overconsumption of alcohol. There wasn't any addictive alcohol consumption. It was just like, oh, it was just for vibes. We just happened to be drinking that night, so I didn't want to take my medication because then that could conflict and then cause a whole depressive episode, and that's not fun. But now all of a sudden it's like been 2 weeks and I've been off my medication, so I'm like, huh. Well, now I feel things again, and now I'm crying, and it really sucks, and I don't really want to get back on the medication because I don't feel the need to because I'm not too stressed because school has been kind of good. But also, like, dang, feelings suck. I feel like I'm in an episode of the Vampire Diaries where it's like, when I was on my antidepressants, my whole like my humanity was off and it was just fun vibes, it was just sarcastic bliss and everything was great. And now all of a sudden my humanity is back on and I'm just like, huh, tears for days, let me tell you. But anyway, small side rant over. I'm so sorry for the end of this, not for the end of this video. I'm so sorry that this video is so long. It's like 20 minutes. I usually try to keep my stuff like under 15, but we just had a lot to talk about this month. If you have stayed here until the end, go ahead and comment down below if you have read any of these books. I know that this was kind of like a really like highly awaited book. If you liked this book, go ahead and comment down that you read it and or liked it. But if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that and like the video, and I'll talk to you guys whenever I talk to you guys. So we're going to talk about our February TBR and if we're actually going to get through it this month. So I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.